Dragon Ball fans, welcome to issue 14 of G-Fighterz, GameCast's definitive destination for all things Dragon Ball. Today I'm joined by my regular co-host in Mark. How are you today, Mark?
Good. It's a little weird seeing myself, but...
It is. I've decided to minimize myself so I can't look at myself talk because I find that really strange. I don't want to be watching my eyebrows bounce around.
It's to wake me up.
I'm a very animated talker, so if for those of you who have no fucking clue what we're talking about, pop your screen up if you're on desktop. We've actually been capturing or attempting to capture webcam for the first time on, I believe, any of our podcasts, Mark. I don't think we've done webcam or face anything on any of our podcasts before, have we?
I have, but it never went live.
The legendary lost like 6 to 7 episodes of split screen or something.
Yep.
Max,
somewhere.
If you're listening, it's not too late to right or wrong.
It might be, because that stuff was topical at the time.
Still, I think, I don't know, we could throw them up. See what happens.
Never
as
know.
long as we make it clear so nobody's confused. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy seeing our ugly mugs on screen. We had to put a bit of extra prep into it this week. We both actually probably had to shower and make sure we didn't look like hobos, because usually we record straight out of bed with a coffee and we just, I know, Mark, I know that I look utterly diminished and destroyed and like a broken man every morning. So so you've probably often heard me complain about my husky voice and just struggling to survive, you know. So now I had to try and avoid putting that visually into a podcast now. Can't change the voice yet, though. It's a little bit husky. But anyway, Mark, let's get into this episode of G-Fighterz, which is, I think, kind of a nice, tidy one this week. We haven't got a lot to cover. We're still kind of between news and releases. But what we do have to cover is speculation fueled. So I'll make that transparent and immediately obvious right now that this is pure speculation by the fandom, the Dragon Ball fandom, and it is regarding the 30th anniversary Funimation box set release that they're currently trying to get signatures or pledges for orders or pre-orders right now, which is they need 3,000 pre-orders before they'll go ahead and print these 4:3 aspect ratio Blu-ray releases. I believe they're currently halfway to that point, Mark. Is that the number I think we were at? About halfway? Just over halfway?
I'm not sure. I didn't see the numbers on that.
I'm pretty sure it's halfway. And you've heard me talk, Mark, and everybody who listens to this podcast, you've heard me dribble in a few episodes now about these episodes, these Toei remaster box sets being the definitive way to watch Dragon Ball. They've gone back into their original film reels. They've cleaned it all up, and they've produced something that looks really good. We've seen some of the movies. We've seen some of Dragon Ball stills. We've seen some Dragon Ball Z. They've released a bit of footage, and like I said, they've released some of these remastered movies on Netflix. And we know that Dragon Ball Z is on the way. That they've remastered Dragon Ball Z. So obviously, Mark, we're bloody excited because you would think with the news we got a while ago, I think it was the beginning of March, Funimation and Toei both announced that Funimation was going to be releasing a new box set. So you're like, all right, well, this makes sense. We know Toei are working on remasters. Funimation's working now on a new box set to release. So you would assume that they would be the remastered cuts from the film reels. So Funimation would be replacing their old super bloody VHSs that they've been using for donkeys now for every single box set that's getting long in the tooth. And we thought this up until the point of the trailer, Mark. I think the trailer dropped, I think it was last week, wasn't it, Mark? Early last week?
Yeah.
I think we just missed it when we were recording
last week.
It was after
recorded previously.
Yeah, I think it literally came out the following morning. And Mark, I've seen and read quite a bit regarding this trailer, which has been absolutely dissected by the fandom. But what is your takeaway regarding this trailer so far?
Yeah, when I watched it initially, because I'm I'm not I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, but like I'm not as sort of like keen-eyed, go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, sort of thing. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, that's neat. And then I was like, there might be something up with it. So I thought I'd do a bit of external research, and then saw a few videos explaining what the cropping issues were, and the oversaturation issues and things like that. And now I can't unsee it. And I also had a customer at my work come and explain the whole situation to me. And then after that, I was like, oh, that's a bit rough. It's sort of like Funimation knew what was going on in the Japanese release, but didn't port that Japanese release over. Just tried to imitate something that looked kind of like it, or that idea. But it's not that. It definitely isn't that.
And that is the exact speculation that's happening at the moment. What exactly is the Funimation 30th anniversary remaster box set going to be? And I'll tell you right now, it better absolutely be those Toei remasters, which look phenomenal. Because if it's not those remasters, not only is the fandom going to be extremely disappointed, but they will have price gouged us again. Because these remasters, yes, it comes with a apparent, which you will talk about in a minute, Mark, the statue. It comes with an 11-inch Goku. But it's also $350 USD for all of Dragon Ball Z, a show that has been around for almost 30 years now. There's numerous box sets. That's a sizable amount of money. And if the hard work had been put in and they had slaved away, Toei, to remaster these, to bring them back to us in the best possible format and form that we could acquire them in, I would absolutely pay that price. Because, like I've said hundreds of times, it will be the definitive version of Dragon Ball Z to own. You will not need another box set. This is the set you own for the next 20 years, right? As long as the discs last.
Yeah.
But that translates, FYI to anybody listening in Australia, to 488 AUD. And I can tell you right now that I will not be paying that much for anything but those Toei remasters. And Mark, you touched on it, the cropping. The cropping is a big talking point regarding what was presented in that trailer, because seemingly in that trailer, from what I've read, I've watched Anime J's video, so I highly recommend watching that. I might link it down below in the description box. He actually dissects the trailer. He touches on the cropping, not being able to understand what's happening with the cropping, really. He touches on the cropping issues, saturation, and the big one for me, which they did with the last Blu-rays, which was the reduction or the removal of grain, which softens the image and blurs the image a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, or if you're not aware, grain, depending on what format is used for creating a show, grain needs to be present. It holds detail of the image. If you remove the grain, you're removing, you're making the image look cleaner, but you're also losing a bit of detail there. And that is absolutely a bad thing for a show like Dragon Ball Z, where it, by nature, has a lot of grain. So to hear and to see in that trailer that the grain's been swept away again, like they have done in previous box sets, sorry, Mark, that is not a good thing. So I highly recommend you watch that Anime J video. Geekdom actually had Geekdom 101, that is, had a video out regarding the box set as well. Didn't go into the technical detail like Anime J did, but he did touch on what he thought of the value of the box. And they are both very much, Anime J certainly is not happy. He will not be buying this box set. If it isn't the Toei remasters, essentially, and it is what we see in the trailer, he will not be buying. And Geekdom is urging everybody just, I think, to wait and see. He's not telling anybody to buy this box set. And these two guys are like the gurus of, they're like Jesus of the Dragon Ball fandom. These guys, they preach gospel and then they know what's going on. So I would absolutely fly by their word if you're not going to fly by all the speculation that Mark and I are doing here today. And I'll stop dribbling in a minute, Mark. But to touch on the cropping, I'm very confused, because from what I've heard on Reddit and across the internet is that it looks like this Funimation trailer has been cobbled together from multiple, or at least 2 different past remasters, and I use remasters very loosely, or past box sets. So the level sets and I think the Blu-rays. And they're suggesting that it looks like a 4:3 image has either been zoomed slightly again by 4:3, and some people have been saying that a 16:9 image has been cropped down to 4:3. So imagine having the orange brick box set, that's already zoomed in, and then cropping off the sides again. So you haven't panned out and then gone 4:3 off the original frame. You've taken something that's already zoomed in and cropped it to 4:3. So there is so much happening, and so much has come out of just this one Funimation trailer. And it is extremely evident that what is present in this trailer is not what Toei Animation have remastered or produced. And my question to you, Mark, is now that we've covered all the bits and pieces of this trailer, from cropping to mucked up grain and detail missing and a soft blurry image, oversaturation of the image, that all aside now, why do you think Funimation has presented us a trailer like this? What is it?
I think it's probably one of 2 things. One, it's just a trailer that will not represent the final product, hopefully. It's just a thing that they cobbled together for an English teaser for the actual Toei release, or something akin to that, which would be the ideal situation. But then you could have easily just done the Japanese as a trailer, because we've had Japanese trailers before.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing is quick cash grab, sort of riding off of the 30th anniversary wave, almost tricking people into thinking it is the Toei one when it is. Because Funimation at the end of the day want to make money. That's why Dragon Ball Z's been remastered and re-released a million times over in a million different ways. That's probably what I said for it.
I'm very much stuck in 2 minds of Funimation having basically doing what they always do and presenting us with a lesser product, because they're not prepared to put in the work to properly remaster what they have. Maybe they're at a point where they can't take their original masters any further. Like, they are operating off, I think it's like a Super HD VHS master. It's not the ideal to be remastering from. They've been using this for years now. But even if that's the case, and why would they just not acquire the Toei sets? Why would they not update their sets and get a new copy? Toei's done the hard work for them. So why would you not acquire those sets, create a trailer from those sets, and then present it to the fandom and the public for pre-orders? I don't know. Maybe it's a timing thing. Maybe it's a legality thing. Maybe they've gotten the okay from Toei to get the sets, but they're still going through all the nitty-gritty of basically owning a master set of the highest grade. Like, maybe there's just an issue there. Like, they're just working out the nitty gritty. But they, like you said, Mark, they did want to get on the back of that 30th anniversary, and they just didn't get the sets in time. So they had to cut a trailer together with what they did have. I hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case, that they've just kind of been stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that they've just had to work with what they have for the time being. I absolutely hope that's the case, even though if it were me personally, I wouldn't have released anything. I wouldn't have released any footage unless it was from those bloody Toei remasters.
Yeah, you want to make people as excited as possible.
Absolutely. And I'll admit that I'm not 100% up to date on what's the progress with the Toei remasters, but it could also be a case of maybe Toei isn't done finalizing and remastering all of Z either. So there could be an issue there as well. That, hey, we're going to give you the sets, but we can't because we're not actually done finalizing it yet. So I'm really hoping that is the case. I'm really hoping that's the case, because if they have just pulled the wool over, or are trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes, and are trying to basically just release another set, which is essentially just the Blu-ray remasters by a lot of the look of that trailer, but presented in 4:3, that's not going to fly. That's absolutely not going to fly, because I can tell you right now, the hardcore audience are the only people that are going to be paying $350 USD for these box sets. Yeah. And the hardcore audience are the people that will know exactly what these box sets are in terms of their quality. We are the people that have been tracking every single box set up until this point, waiting for the best possible version. You know, there's forums online dedicated to discussing what the box set you should pick up. And fun fact, to this date, the level sets are one of the best sets you can pick up. Unfortunately, they're incomplete. But, I mean, without beating a dead horse, Mark, I hope that is the case. I hope Funimation's just gone a little bit ahead of themselves, release a bit of a B-roll trailer to hype people up, and they will be acquiring the Toei remasters. Mm. That's the only thing I can think of. The only reason I can think that they would have done a trailer like this in terms of giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bit of a doozy.
But that's also not the only thing that's in that collection either.
Oh, yeah, the statue.
We got a statue, and it's an art book as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like statue-wise, because I know my stuff, it
works in an anime store.
Yeah, I mean, like I have to, but I also buy a lot anyway. Like the Grandista line of figures, which is what the limited edition figure is. It's a Grandista. They're huge, but they're inexpensive. And like they are pretty well detailed, but these are like figures that are usually produced by like the tens of thousands, and they cost about 30 Australian dollars. So usually around like 20 USD and things like that. So it's like if you're putting that in that collection sort of thing and it's a limited run, it's still probably cheaply made.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like that's a bit of a thing, because you're saying it's 488 Australian dollars, and part of that's a pretty cheap figurine, because we already spend a lot on DVDs and things like that. If you see DVD prices in America, Australia, and Japan, they're all freakishly expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And things like that. And it's like, you're not the point of the collection isn't going to be the figurine or the art book, because it's way too expensive to justify that as a bonus. That's just a thing in it. The core of it is the DVDs, and that's the issue.
I mean, maybe if they were throwing in a couple of T-shirts and G-Fighterz, the fighting game, fuck yeah, like that's not bad value. But it's not. It's just an art book and a statue, which a statue I don't actually even appreciate that much. I haven't got any statues, so I can't do anything with it. I don't want to have just one Goku statue laying around. Like, I admit that it looks cool.
Yeah.
Although I would have much preferred it actually be coloured. If you haven't seen the statue, it's not coloured. It's just grey. Isn't that right, Mark?
Yeah, that might just be the prototype. Sometimes they do that. Okay. The company that makes Grandista tend to do prototypes, unless they're actually doing this really annoying thing that they always do, which is they release an unpainted one and a painted one. So if the unpainted one is the limited one, then the painted one will be the one that's available to the public, and everyone will buy the painted one.
Because it looks better.
Yeah, because it's normal state Goku holding the 4-star ball, or what looks like the 4-star ball. And it's not that exciting of a figure. Like, I'd rather have some of the other ones.
I mean, if it is like a prototype, like you said, perhaps this also lends itself to the idea that Funimation really has just tried to cobble this together in time to get a bit of hype going and to get signatures for when they actually inevitably do put the proper set together with the Toei remasters and the coloured statue.
Yeah, like a big banner up the top saying product subject to change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe in the trailer it did said artwork is not representative of the final product. So that could extend to the statue and other stuff as well. So and the art book. Not just the visuals on the box sets. So that could be wishful thinking. But I am really needing some wishful thinking right now because I think, Mark, you know how excited I've been for these box sets since I found out last year. I think we spoke about it in the first episode back in November. How excited I've been, or how excited I was to hear that Toei was completely remastering Dragon Ball from the original source material and the reels. And that gave me great hope that we would get a high quality Western release. And again, to wrap this segment up, hopefully that is still the case, but we need to wait and see, because Funimation have a bad track record for milking this franchise for money. And it's at a point where I'm not saying they're not necessarily doing the hard work that they should be, because it is a lot of work to remaster a series that is so old, and they have done a lot of attempts with doing the best that they can do, I believe, with what they do have, which is the VHS masters. But this should be a tick and flick, man. This should be acquiring the remasters from Toei, slapping over the English dub, and away you go. You just start printing money. So there should be no excuse. And if they do pull a Swiftie on us, I can tell you right now, that's it. I'm fucking done with Funimation. We'll not be buying any more of their box sets. Like, all hope will be lost at that point, Mark. So that sounds dramatic, but when you've been waiting as long as me to replace your orange bricks, which is a terrible set to own, don't buy that set. But when you've been waiting as long as me, you're starting to get to that point. You know what I mean, Mark?
Yeah.
So, anywho, let's wrap up this part of this issue, and be sure to join us on the other side of our musical break for the Broly movie. We're going to be chatting about the Broly movie, and we're going to be giving our 7 Dragon Ball ratings. So we'll see you guys on the other side of this break. Welcome back, Dragon Ball fans, to our movie segment of this issue. This week, as I said previously, we are covering and discussing the first Broly movie, and what a time to be discussing it, Mark, on the hot heels of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie.
Yeah.
We still probably could have timed it better. We probably could have done Broly before the movie, and the Bardock, the father of Goku, before the Super movie as well. But here we are. As you guys know, we had a bit of a turbulent start to the year. So let me hit you up with a bit of information regarding this movie, though. It's a long one. I think this might be the longest Z movie we've had so far, Mark. Did it feel that way to you, at least?
It felt a little bit longer.
It did.
Some of them, but
there was
that's all
extra
relative.
ground and pound. Yeah. So the runtime was 72 minutes. It took home 2.3 billion Japanese yen at the box office, and that is 29.2 million USD. Its Japanese release date was March 6, 1993, and it had a Western release by Funimation of August 26, 2003 for its home release. To give you a bit of the story, a legendary Super Saiyan has been causing havoc in the South Galaxy. Rumors of his appearance have made their way to Earth, and both Vegeta and Goku travel far to investigate. Meanwhile, even more Saiyans appear and offer Vegeta a new throne on a far-off world, and you can bet that bloody floated his boat, because he was on that ship. He was on there pretty fast, Mark.
Yeah. He wasn't even going to wait for anyone.
Mark, as always, let's just start with our thoughts regarding the story. Can often be a little bit lacking in this part or these segments, because a lot of these Z-movies don't have a lot of story present. Although this one did actually tie in some cool stuff. So do you want to take us off with that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was rewatching it after so long, but also now that we've seen the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, sort of seeing the common parts that they did keep. And an interesting part about that was sort of like little bits and pieces of Paragus's past, where his relationship with King Vegeta, even though it was sort of glossed over in this movie, was pretty similar to what they did in the Super Broly movie.
Yeah, it was almost exactly. Some of the scenes were almost, recreated almost. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
It's just that like sort of motivations were a bit different, but reasoning of Paragus's hate and sort of his plan for revenge. Like his end goal might have been different because he wanted to dominate Earth, but his motivation for revenge was directed at King Vegeta and then his son, because King Vegeta's now gone. Which is very, very similar to the Broly movie. There was just a few more steps involved.
Absolutely. What I didn't realize about the original Broly, because it had been a few years since I watched it, we all put emphasis on Broly being ticked off because of Kakarot, right?
Yeah.
That was still the trigger in this movie. That's what made him go full bloody, I can't remember what they call it these days, full Broly rage mode. That's what triggered it. But I didn't remember or realize that in this movie that isn't a focal point of the story. You know, they're not there seeking revenge on Kakarot, and it's not like in the forefront like I remember it being. It really is just an afterthought. It just so happens to be that in this Broly movie that Broly doesn't like Kakarot because he's resonating with him and getting that vibe of them being children again and Goku screaming, and that's just causing him uncomfort, which causes him to break free from his restraints.
Yeah.
I just thought that played a way bigger role in this movie, but it really isn't the case. It's just a reason it's just that snapping point for Broly.
It's just a trigger for the fight scenes.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, like it is very similar to the remake, the Super remake. It's just that revenge story of Paragus on basically the royal line, essentially. They just go about doing it in different ways and in different locations, and obviously there's no Frieza present in this movie, so I like that they did retain what they did, actually. I obviously think the Super Broly movie is executed way better than this movie. There's some quirky moments in this movie, man, where you're just like, oh. For example, I say quirky moment and just far-fetched is when Vegeta explodes and Broly just makes a ball of energy as a baby around him and his father, and they float off away to safety.
Yeah.
It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's the most convoluted thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's like, we can do that? What?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, little stuff like that where they're like, oh, yeah, I feel like they were in production and they were like, oh, how did these guys get off the planet? I know. Broly made an energy ball. And for example, obviously in the Super Broly movie, basically King Vegeta sends Broly away because he's a threat and danger, so he just sends him to an isolated planet and Paragus follows after him. Way better way of handling how they left Vegeta where it exploded. Yeah. So yeah, essentially the story is very much tied and reminiscent of the Super Broly movie, which is just a revenge story of Paragus.
Yeah.
Have I missed anything else, Mark? Have we missed anything regarding the story?
Master Roshi was drunk pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I did enjoy the singing at the start of the movie and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, fucking Krillin doing karaoke and Master Roshi just smashed. So that was good. Did you notice, though, at the start of the movie, I know we're going to start deviating away from the story now because I think we've basically covered it, revenge story, much like a lot of the Dragon Ball movies, revenge story or get the Dragon Balls. Did you notice at the start where Paragus lands, finds Vegeta immediately, and Vegeta's like, all right, we're out, and Trunks interjects going, you can't leave. Like, what are you doing, father? This is ridiculous. Did you notice that Paragus just knew his name?
Knew Trunks' name.
Yeah. Or did Vegeta say it?
No, I don't think Vegeta said it.
Paragus just knew Trunks' name and knew he was his son. I mean, obviously, Trunks, I think, says father.
Yeah, he says
can't
father,
go,
so.
But how does he know his name?
Oversight.
I don't know.
Maybe the Japanese dub's different.
Yeah, and Funimation just
put it in.
Did what they had to do to get it to work type deal. Yeah, possibly. Speaking of dubs, did you watch English dub with US music?
English dub, Japanese music. I'm pretty sure it's Japanese.
Okay, so you didn't get the funky intro.
No, I had Chala, I had Chala.
Chala, yeah, man. The US intro was different. It's like they loosely tried to recreate the US opening theme with guitar and stuff, but it was very loose. It was very strange. The whole US soundtrack of this one was very different, not in a good or bad way, just very different. So, yeah. But Mark, let's takeaways, highlights from this movie. Lay it on me.
Yeah. Actually, there's a moment that I didn't remember at all because I thought it was a lot like the new Broly movie how there's like one fight scene and it just lasts the whole thing. I completely forgot there was a sequence where Broly attacked Goku at night.
Yeah, that was cool, right?
Yeah, it was. Because you got to see sort of like skinny Broly do that as well.
Yeah. I love it how, as well, they keep referring to Broly as being like pathetic or like a twig.
Yeah.
Like the dude's like fucking 8 foot.
Yeah.
Like, and he's still pretty jacked.
Yeah. He's not bulky, but he's buff.
I'm sorry, but Vegeta is thinner and shorter, yet they're referring to Broly as being a stick. No wonder he got fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
I just thought that was ridiculous. You know.
The thing, one of my takeaways, Piccolo just appears no matter what.
Yeah, I know. Every movie, man. Like, where did you come from, Piccolo, and how did you get here?
Yeah, and then everyone else steals his ship.
Yeah. Do you remember the God, what's it called? Oh, the abridged version of this movie.
Yeah.
You know when he appears on that like pole or something with his cape sweeping across in the wrong direction in the wind?
Yeah.
Please tell me they just extended that scene so that he just wouldn't flick around and it was annoying. Was that a thing?
I can't remember. I wanted to watch the abridged, but I didn't have enough time.
I know, I ran out of time because like even in the normal version of Broly, that cape is just draping across him in the wind the wrong way, so it's like masking his appearance. We all know it's Piccolo. It's just a cool reveal, but it's just flicking across in the wind for so long. I'm like, you're gonna reveal Piccolo or what? Yeah. Like, I would have just loved to see a bridge just like do a 30-second cut of that, you know, just go on the wrong way. Anyway, we're way off subject talking about abridged. Even though that movie is hilarious.
Yeah,
I have to watch that one.
Like Vegeta's whole struggle with trying to accept Broly as being cool but stupid in the abridged was amazing. Yeah. Because in here, he's just like, oh, we can't win.
Yeah, pathetic. As the most pathetic you'll ever see Vegeta. Yeah, I guess it is around that Cell Saga time where he's feeling pathetic and he will never fight again, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love the abridged, though. Remember the safe word?
Yeah.
The little creatures with the safe word. It was lost to time. Oh, I love it. Anyway, if you haven't watched Abridged, go watch that movie. It's great. But yeah, in terms of takeaways, I don't know if I have many. Mark. This movie didn't blow me away like I thought it would. Maybe I've been spoiled by Super Broly, because that movie is phenomenal. Or maybe I've just romanticized this movie in my mind too much, or it's been too hyped up. But it didn't do a lot for me, to be honest. I thought the story was cool, and I thought it was pretty well presented and fleshed out. It took its time to set itself up. I thought that was all really cool and interesting. But once we got to the action, I was just like, It just didn't do a lot for me. Like, I felt like it was just one long ground and pound by Broly.
Oh, yeah.
And the movie...
Broly was winning like the whole time. There's no chance.
Oh, yeah. There was it wasn't even interesting. Like, it was just like, all right, I'm gonna destroy you now. And then he did that for like probably a solid 20 to 30 minutes of him just ground and pounding everybody and Vegeta having his emotional breakdown.
And then Vegeta wussing out on giving power. While Goku just gets pounded, doesn't even try to evade.
Oh, I mean, I think the one cool takeaway scene for me, or there's two actually. It's the one where Broly initially transforms and his like skin almost like melts off his face. And you see this different present come out of him, like that crazy Broly look.
When I watched that, it kind of reminded me of how they did the blue transformations in Resurrection of F. How they're sort of like aura cracks apart. And then reveals them.
Yeah.
Because they're sort of like definitely. A different...
Yep, absolutely. So I think that was probably one of my highlights. And I think the next highlight, who doesn't love a good Kamehameha? And I think that Kamehameha that Goku does against Broly as he's walking towards him, point blank range, like that was really cool. I really, even though it did nothing to Broly, I just thought the effect and animation was really cool. Like I love just seeing those Kamehamehas go off point blank range, man. Like there's been a few of them in the series and I love every single one of them. They're just awesome.
I actually really like Goku's design in the Broly movie just because of like the coloring in it. It looked a lot like the new Super Broly movie in terms of that particular shade of orange. Things like that. It was a bit brighter. And when his shirt got ripped, it was like half orange, half blue.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, this movie does play with color palette a lot, actually. And I can't remember the name of the director, but he's been known for playing with colors before. There's multiple scenes where, I mean, look at Gohan's gi. Like, it's like a softer purple, and then depending on what's happening with like Ki Blast, it'll highlight to a different color.
Yeah. And like when they're indoors or outdoors, you saw the hair color change a bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, Broly would be flicking between his normal black and that kind of greenish Broly look, depending on Ki Blast and being inside and outside. So they did have a lot of fun with color palettes, which was refreshing. So that was really cool.
And a bit more,
which is something.
Yeah, there's a bit more exaggeration. Like when Trunks went Super Saiyan, his jacket just tears apart.
Another point though, like, what the fuck is Trunks even doing there? Like,
yeah, because
like this...
if Trunks is there, Goku's alive. Then that means this is just before the Cell games.
Yeah, like, you guys had time to go fight Broly and they're all just having a karaoke party.
Yeah.
Like, in a park. Like, maybe it's that 7-day period where Goku's like, yeah, I'm going to chill out for, like, just 7 days before the tournament, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it can't be the case because he's in Super Saiyan form.
Yeah, but Gohan turned Super Saiyan, which means that it was after they went out of the hyperbolic time chamber as well.
God. So that... It's another movie that doesn't fit in. Speaking of not fitting in, Mark, we actually had a different order for our movies. So where did you place this movie according to Wikipedia?
It was placed after Super Android 13, but before BoJack. Because Super Android 13 still had Trunks and his sword and short hair. And Broly has got long-haired Trunks and Super Saiyan Gohan. But not Teen Gohan Super Saiyan 2, because BoJack's got Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and Goku's dead. So it has to follow that order even though they are non-canon, like in terms of order of events, because you can sort of track Goku's death and people's head.
Yeah. See, that makes sense to me. I think my box set must be wrong, or at least approaching the point of being wrong, because. And you can tell me a minute, Mark, if you remember much of the wiki beyond these movies. But mine went Super Android 13, BoJack, then it went Broly. So we decided to watch Broly because you said we've gone out of order somewhere. And I'm like, oh, well, according to this, Broly's next to my box set. But the next two movies, Mark, are Broly.
Yeah. And the second Broly is adult Gohan.
Okay, so do you remember on the Wikipedia what the order is? Like, is that the right order of my box set? 3 Brolys in a row?
No, I'm pretty sure it goes BoJack. I'm pretty sure it goes Super Android 13, Broly, BoJack, Broly 2. And then...
So Broly...
Then...
Are we watching Broly?
Yeah,
are we watching Broly 2 next?
I think we're watching Broly 2 next.
Okay.
Because Bio Broly, Wrath of the Dragon, and Fusion Reborn can sort of go at any point. Fusion Reborn should probably go at the end because it's after Boo.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to break up the Brolys?
Yeah.
And we'll do Bardock, Father of Goku next, and then we'll do the 2 Brolys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because that'll tie in nicely with this one. Do these 2 back to back because they tie into the movies. So
even Paragus referenced Bardock, which is good.
Yeah, that was really cool actually. I do like that they're starting to tie in other stuff in these movies. I think the last movie did a little bit of that as well. Just started to tie in story threads and stuff like that, which was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Mark. I mean, I guess we're at the point now where we can start wrapping it up, but again, I like the setup, I like the story, much like the new movie, but it didn't really do much for me in terms of the final action scenes. It was just a ground and pound. Broly was really cool. He has a Vic, I think it's still Vic who voiced the original.
It was, yeah.
He's really good as Broly. Everything personal, public life aside, he's a great Broly. He's got a lot of range. And I did enjoy seeing Broly being so dominant, but it just got a little bit long in the tooth and tiring seeing just an extended ground and pound of just all the Z Warriors. Having said that, though, it was animated and the production quality was phenomenal. On that front, it was really, really good. This is a really slick Dragon Ball Z movie. But, I mean, in terms of my rating, I guess I'll go first, Mark. In terms of my rating, It's tough. I think I'm going to go 6.5.
6.5?
Out of 7.
Out of 7?
Out of 7. Or perhaps... no,
because
you know what?
That's pretty freaking high.
I'm going to go a 6. I'm just going to go a 6 because it was a really slick production. I did enjoy the story. The only negative for me was just the fighting. The final battle at the end was long and it was just a ground and pounds. That if that had been more interesting and more just a bit more of a competition, and I know that's not what Broly's about. He's meant to be so overpowering and dominating, right? So I get that. But it doesn't change the fact that to me it was still a little bit watching a ground and pound. So if it had been more interesting, I would give it a solid 7. But I think I'm going to deduct a full Dragon Ball because of that. So just a 6 out of 7 for me.
No wishes today.
No wishes.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. I think a 6 out of 7, especially since I know what's coming up.
We've been saying that forever now as well.
Yeah,
because like, when is the good stuff coming up?
Because my 2 favorite movies are Fusion Reborn and Wrath of the Dragon.
Yeah, I can't remember Wrath of the Dragon much. That should be good.
Does it the guy that looks like Link?
Oh yeah, he's got the sword and shit and the little flute thing.
Yeah,
that's a cool one. Yeah. All right. Well, so Mark's given 2 7s for those. All right, so that pretty much wraps us up this time. Next week, though, Mark and audience, we will do Bardock, the Father of Goku, so be sure to check that out. That is a really cool movie, so that'll probably rank pretty high for me, I think. I love the US soundtrack on that one, a lot of metal. Bardock's a cool dude. You get to see a lot of Saiyans, so that is a cool movie, and it'll be interesting to discuss how what is kept and not kept from the original Bardock and the new Super Broly movie. So be sure to join us next week for that discussion. We'll also bring you whatever news we have floating around. Hopefully we get an update on the 30th anniversary box set by Funimation. Hopefully they clarify things between now and next week. And we will, regardless, we will absolutely keep you up to date on what's happening there. And of course, we'll bring you any other news that we come across, be it video game or anime. I believe early next week we have KamehaCon in Texas, so hopefully we'll get some Dragon Ball news out of that. So we'll absolutely cover that if we get substantial news. But until next week, guys, have a good one.